Anthony has 2 more pairs than Kedrick. How many pairs of shoes do they have altogether? Now we're going to reread, and after each sentence, we're going to stop and think. Ready? Kedrick has 6 pairs of shoes. Jade, what did I just read?
Kedrick has 6 pairs of shoes.
Right. Anthony has 2 more pairs than Kedrick. Michael, what did I just read?
Anthony has more shoes than Kedrick.
Right. He has 2 more than Kedrick. Great. The question says, how many pairs of shoes do they have altogether? Now I'm going to rewrite the question. How many pairs of shoes do they have altogether? They have blank pairs of shoes altogether. Right? Awesome. Now, one of the things you want to do as a teacher when we start to draw our bars is give them some questions that they can ask themselves. And the questions have to be ones that they can always repeat. They can't be specific to the question. Right? So the question can't be, how many pairs does Kedrick have? Because then for the next problem, if the next problem is about puppies, the question, how many pairs does Kedrick have, isn't going to apply, right? Mm-hmm. So whenever you're thinking about modeling questioning, the questioning has to be like sufficiently broad that they can always ask themselves, okay? Mm-hmm. So we're going to always ask ourselves, who am I talking about? What am I talking about, right? So Kedrick has 6 pairs of shoes. Who am I talking about?
Kedrick.
What am I talking about?
Shoes.
Great. So let's put a K, Kedrick's shoes, right? And then I'm going to put a line, just that marks my starting point. Right? And I'm going to say he has 6. So let me just draw a rectangle, and I'm going to call that rectangle 6. The rectangle should start right at your starting line because they're always going to start at the same place. Awesome. Great. Now I'm going to do the next sentence. Ready? Anthony has 2 more pairs than Kedrick. Who am I talking about?
Anthony.
And what am I talking about?
How many more shoes he has?
Shoes still, right? So Anthony and shoes. Now, I want to take a break and think about this as a teacher for just a second. We're putting shoes and shoes on the same axis because they're the same thing, but it's a different person. If I was saying Kedrick got 3 more pairs of shoes, I would just put that right here, right? But this is a different person with the same thing, so it's all on the same axis. Down the road, when we start to talk about shoes and boxes, it's still going to be Calvin, but it's not going to be shoes anymore. Boxes isn't going to go here. They don't go on the same axis because they're not the same thing, right? Boxes would have to go over here on a different axis. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if I was talking about sandals and flip-flops, they could go on the same axis. If I was talking about shoes and shoelaces, they wouldn't go on the same axis. I might say, oh, my shoelaces go on my shoes. Let me put shoelaces up here. A different axis. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. That's something that helps me sort through where to put my rectangles, right? These labels, these words. But I'm not saying to a kid, like, reread the question. What are we talking about? Shoes and shoelaces. Come on. I'm just going through, who am I talking about? What am I talking about? More broad questioning that I can always come back to, and then they can always come back to. All right, so Anthony has 2 more pairs than Kedrick. How am I going to draw that? Let me read that again. Anthony has 2 more than Kedrick. How should I draw what Anthony has?
You're going to add it on to what Kedrick had.
If I add what on?
You're going to add on his pair of shoes because he has 2 more than...
I could put 2 here. Wouldn't that kind of seem like it was Kedrick's?
Yeah.
But it's not Kedrick's, it's
Anthony's.
Yeah, so what should I do? Anthony.
Draw another...
Right. If Anthony has 2 more than Kedrick, Anthony has what Kedrick has,
Plus 2.
and 2 more. So Anthony has what Kedrick has, and 2 more. Now, I've purposely made this problem, which is just an addition problem, a very complicated one. Because kids, if you're just modeling an addition problem, are like, this is really boring. Why am I watching this person? I'm not going to draw a model 6 plus 2 is 8. Right? This problem is not 8. The answer isn't 8. And I've written that intentionally because I want to trick them into being like, right? It's not what you always think. We draw a model because we're going to really stop and pay attention. And I'm purposely kind of putting them in that position to have to be thinkers, right? Because now I put my question mark. How many pairs of shoes do they have all together? Where does the question mark go? What if I put the question mark here? What would that be asking about?
How many shoes does Anthony have?
Right.
So go to the side. The question.
Right. I could go here. I even like to, these brackets are very hard for kids. I'll just draw a circle. I want them. They are Kedrick and Anthony. Right? If I had put the question mark here, my question would be, how many shoes does Anthony have? If I put it here, I could have said, how many shoes does Kedrick have? If I put it here, I could say, how many more does Anthony? There's lots of places I could put a question mark. That would be a different question. That's a conversation you have with kids. This one is designed on purpose to make you pay attention, right? Now it changes my math, right? Now I do the math, and I see that I'm going to add what?
6 plus 2.
Right. What would most kids add? Without a model.
Without the model, they just do 6 and 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So we're purposely, I draw a line over here, and I just show my steps. They have 14 pairs of shoes all together. Okay? Cool, right?
Yeah.
You can see how this would allow you to solve really complicated problems and help you to break it down. And then what is great is when kids are working independently, it gives you this format for giving them feedback that doesn't feel like badgering and isn't vague, but you can say things like, show me where the first sentence model is. Show me the second model. This 2. Why did you put this 2 right here? You don't have a question mark. Your question mark is in the wrong spot. Let's reread the question, right? Like, you can be talking very much about their model instead of this vague thing. Like, I feel like the worst thing you could say to a kid, which is like, you didn't read the story.